Hey guys, welcome back to Texas Young Guns. As you can see, we are in sweaters.
That's unusual for us this time of the year.
Because it fell from 65, 67 down to 16 in like one day. And that's no joke. It was literally like 67 yesterday, about 1 o'clock, and then woke up this morning and it is 16 degrees.
But I'm sure some of you are like, that's nothing. But to us, it's something.
Hey, this is Southeast Texas, so
it doesn't get that cold on Christmas.
Yeah. So if you've been following our journey, you know that we've been traveling in the Smoky Mountains. In this video, we're going to go over our experience at Dollywood. Now this is not a first-person video because, as you can imagine, at Dollywood, there's a lot of Dolly Parton playing all the time.
So, a lot of Hard Candy Christmas, what's some Islands in the Stream, all the classic Dolly songs.
Yep. But we'll do our best to overlay footage of our experience because we did take a lot. But as you can imagine, a lot of copyrighted music playing, so not a lot of opportunities to speak without some kind of Dolly Parton music playing. So Dollywood obviously is owned partially by Dolly Parton. She's in a partnership with the Hershen family, or the Hershen Foundation family.
It's mostly Dolly.
Yeah, it's mostly Dolly. At least she's the face of the park for sure.
It is called Dollywood, so.
Exactly. So this park is located in Pigeon. It's about 150 acres currently, but as we were there, they were expanding, so who knows what they're at now. But that is the Dollywood Wikipedia, so take that as you will.
Whatever Dolly dreams up, I'm sure.
Yep. So this is deep in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, so the views around Dollywood are pretty amazing, especially during Christmas time, which is when we went. So we specifically went during Christmas time because we knew that Dollywood would have all of its Christmas lights and Christmas music and all the pretty decorations.
Okay, back up. Actually, we did not plan to go to Dollywood. It was not ever on our agenda to go to Dollywood.
You kind of have to go though while you're there.
But while we were at some of the other places we went, people kept saying, like, you got to go to Dollywood. You got to go to Dollywood. Even the locals, you got to go to Dollywood. So we were like, okay. So we looked it up and it said it's the #1 place to go to during Christmas. So we were like, well, heck, while we're here, guess to go check out Dollywood.
Nope, that's right. She's right. We did hear a family that was talking about that they were on like their 3rd day.
Yeah, some people like go hard on Dollywood.
Yep. So they kind of treat it like Disney or Universal or something like that. That's their park to go to. And while we were there, we discovered that the prices are kind of approaching Disneyland as well. So for one day for an adult right now, as in December of 2022, it's $89 for an adult. Now, if you're planning on staying there multiple days, the discounts are pretty good. So like 2 days is $109, 3 days is $119. So if you're planning on staying multiple days, they have a pretty good deal for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you stay on the resort there, you get some kind of discount as well.
Yeah. The most surprising part at Dollywood about the prices is the parking. The parking at Dollywood is very, in my mind, extreme. So it's $25 for your car. You can bring your RV there. It's $30. Now, I will say when we walked through the parking lot, if you have a big RV and it's in a busy time of the year, I think you're going to struggle to find a place to park. Because all the RVs that were actually there were only like little class C's, maybe even a little small class B. So the prices are very steep on the parking. Now what we did, which I think is a smart move, because our RV park we stayed at, the Creekside RV Park, which we'll do a review on here shortly in the upcoming weeks. The trolley that travels around town in Pigeon Forge actually picked up at our RV park. And they also have a transportation center that's right in the middle of town where you can go ride it.
Like a transit place.
That's right, and parking there is free as well. And you can actually buy a $3 ticket that will be unlimited all day. So that means you can ride that trolley all day, unlimited amount of times, and it's only $3 a person. So that's what we did. we didn't have to fight the parking. We didn't have to pay the super high prices. So
They drop you off like right at the entrance.
that's right. So there's no walking either. You're pretty much right at the security gate whenever you're dropped off. So
if you're gonna shut the place down, which is what we did, the tram closes a little early. So pay close attention. Like, ask your driver what's the last pickup time you'll have, because we got back to the mass transit and ended up having to take an Uber back to our RV because, you know, we just Dollywooded it out that day.
yeah, so she's right. So the trolley runs a little bit later if you're just trying to go back to the transportation center. But if you have to catch one of the trolleys going back to your RV park or your hotel or whatever, just know that those might close a little bit earlier. We're lucky that there was one guy doing Uber that evening, because there was like a 15-minute wait for an Uber. And if you look at the little map, there was like one car.
Yeah, so we lucked out on that one. So Dollywood, it's not crazy to navigate, especially if you've been to any other amusement parks. It's not quite as large, but especially during Christmas time, there's lots of people. So when you're trying to navigate it, there is a ton of maps when you walk in. You can grab a physical map if you're one of those people, or there is the Dollywood app, which is what I downloaded, and it actually is like interactive, and it can pinpoint where you are, and it tells you exactly like how far the different things are. You can look for food around you. So that's a really neat concept with the app that's available.
Now, if you're a little bit of old school like I am, they do have a huge area where they have thousands of printed maps. So if you want to be old school and use a physical map like I did, it's there for you. Inside the physical map, they also have all the show times and where they're at. So if you don't want to use your phone and you want to rely on that physical map, it's there for you. Mm-hmm. So whether you're using the physical map or the app, the park is actually pretty easy to navigate once you kind of learn how it's laid out. It's basically a huge circle. So you can either, when you enter the park, you can either go right and take this loop around the circle, or you can go left and go the other way. The whole park is kind of separated in sectors. Each sector has a different theme. So they have places called like Craftsman Valley, Owens Farm, Rivertown Junction. Those are just a few of the examples of the different parks. And like I said, each sector, each little park has its own little theme. While we were there, this is Christmas of 2022, they were building a ride, which we later found out was Big Bear Mountain. So they're expanding again. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't ride any of the rides. As I've gotten older, they kind of make me a little sick. So we're not ride people, or I'm not. However, I heard all the kids and the people that are in rides, and they loved it. So apparently there are some really awesome rides if that's your thing. And it's also similar to like Disney World or Disneyland, where it tells you wait times. So you can see, okay, well, there's a 30-minute wait here or a 65-minute wait. So it's very similar to that.
Yeah, so like she said, you can actually see the wait times live. So if you notice that one of your favorite rides has a shorter wait time at that moment, you can hurry on over there and go ride it. I do like rides. I like roller coasters. I didn't ride any because they didn't, but they looked pretty good. So if you're like a thrill seeker for roller coasters and stuff like that, I think you'll find what you want there.
So the really cool thing about Dollywood is it truly is for all ages. You can have things for the little kids, the middle-aged kids who are like thrill seekers and want to ride rides, or you have your older generation, or me, who's an old soul, who likes the shows and the production. And of course, when you think of Dolly, that's what you think of. You think of her singing and all of her hits and things like that. Plus, that's kind of what this area of Tennessee is known for, you know, that the roots in music, and that's something that she's really brought to the forefront in Dollywood. All of the shows were top notch. They were fantastic singers, fantastic performers. And in the app and in the little pamphlet that you get, there's a list of them. And so our target was to hit as many of them as possible. And like we said, we were there during Christmas, so they were all Christmas themed. And they really did an outstanding job. One of my favorite ones was one where she actually had family members that were singing, and they kind of talked about what it was like to live in their family, because Dolly is from a large family of children, and they talked about all of their traditions growing up around Christmas time, so it made it a little bit more personable.
So you're moving around the park and you're doing all these shows and rides that we've talked about. At some point, you're going to get hungry. And you're going to be looking for food. In this park, they have top-notch food. Everybody raves about how good their food is. The only problem is getting the food. What I mean by that is, so when we were there, to them, the park wasn't even busy. Like, it was a lower...
Yeah, we were like, what do you mean it's not busy?
Yeah, it was a lower crowd. And, man, the wait lines during eating times of the day were long. So we suggest you look at the food prior to going and really be dedicated to that one, because you're going to end up waiting for it.
Yeah, like we stood in one line for probably 20-25 minutes thinking, oh, you know, we're waiting to get in. And it was to Aunt Granny's, which is like the place to go. It's more of like a buffet style, I think. No, we waited. That was just to get your name on the list. And then once you got your name on the list, I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hour wait.
Yeah, so there was a wait to even get on the list. So it's crazy. But Aunt Granny's is definitely the top place to eat there. If you can somehow maybe eat a little earlier in the day, or maybe later in the day, maybe eat a breakfast and then plan on eating around 2 or 3, I think you might have a little bit shorter wait. But Aunt Granny's has like soul food type stuff, you know, chicken, mashed potatoes, stuff you would expect to have in Tennessee. And it's definitely a top-notch place to go. Now, we found a place called, what is it, Red's Diner?
Yeah. It was there was a roller coaster right next to it and next to the theaters.
Yeah, it was a part of the park that they had kind of built to be like an old school, like 50s, 60s version of a town. They had old cars in the streets from the 50s and 60s. And so, of course, they had a diner there. And it was pretty good. They had, like, basic hamburgers and that kind of stuff.
But even that diner, the line was all the way out the door at several times during the day. So we kind of ate at a weird time to the day where we still waited, but it wasn't all the way out the door.
Probably around 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, the wait wasn't very short or very long, but... it was still good. We would recommend Red's Diner as a quick place to eat.
And you just also, like, anytime you go into an amusement park or anything like that, the prices are going to be quite expensive. So maybe plan to eat at home, a big breakfast, and maybe just grab a snack throughout the day, because just be prepared that the prices are going to be more expensive.
Now, if you are visiting Dollywood for the food, they do have what they call tasting packages. So the one that they had activated while we were there during Christmas was like a Christmas tasting package. So basically you pay $35 a person. You get up to like 5 major food items. So like if you want to stop at Dogs and Taters and get like one of their famous hot dogs.
I think they had like specialty menus off to the side where you could look and see what was offered with that pass.
That's right. So if you went to the barbecue place, they had like special food there that you could get part of that tasting package. So if you're there for the food, that's what you're going to be doing most of the time, we would recommend doing that. It's going to save you a lot of money. So obviously every food item there is well over $10. So if you think about it, $35 for 5 things is actually a pretty decent price.
Now, there is not much that I was willing to stand in line for that long, except for one thing there, and it was, I mean, every time you would walk through the place, they would talk about the famous cinnamon bread, and there was famous cinnamon bread signs anywhere. So, I mean, I was like, this is probably my one time to come to Dollywood. I gotta do it. So I probably waited in line hour and a half.
Yeah, at least. It was a long time.
By the grist mill to get this famous cinnamon bread. And what really sold me is that there was an extremely long line, but nobody was getting out of line. So I knew it must be worth it. So I waited in line an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, my mom watched a whole show and came back and found us. It was a whole ordeal, but I waited in line for that cinnamon bread.
Was it good? Yes. Was it worth waiting 2 hours?
Probably not. But I did like it.
Yeah,
and
it was very good.
I don't like a lot of sweets, but that to me, and just the smell.
Yeah, we did get a coffee because it was cold.
Yeah, it was cold, and just the smell of it.
It was good. And the house that they make the cinnamon bread in, they call it the grist mill. It's got a big, like, old school water wheel that, you know, they would used to use for like power or doing woodworking or stuff like that. So it was a pretty neat place to go.
So when we were looking at Dollywood, we saw that they had a old coal ran train. And so, you know, you have that iconic black smoke coming. I mean, this is probably the most realistic old train I've been on.
Well, it's a real train. So it used to be in service. And then at the end of its life, they purchased it and brought it to Dollywood. So it is a true coal-fired train.
Yeah, I don't remember what year they said it was, but I mean, it's an older train. And I mean, it's just really sleek looking. I think it's called the Dolly Express or something.
Yeah, so it's a short 20-minute ride. It takes you through the park. It goes out into the woods.
Play some Dolly music.
Yeah, they have a whole field that you kind of circle around. And the conductor will like play some music with the steam. Like in our case, Christmas. So he was playing like Jingle Bells and stuff.
Sang by Dolly.
And because it was Christmas, they had the whole field lit up at night with Christmas lights.
Yeah, so we like beelined it. Like that's the first thing we did when we went to the park because my mom loves trains. And so we were the first people on the very first train ride of the day. And it was really cool because you got more of like a history of the train and of Dollywood and all that kind of stuff. And then we were the last ride of the day. So we got to ride it at night. And that was really cool too because we were actually at the very front of the train. And we got to actually, like, you would see fire coming up from the top, and that was the coal burning, and sometimes you would get the little soot on your face, so it was really cool, and then you got to see all the lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I stuck my head out of the cart or the train several times to kind of see what was going around the corner, and you could feel the soot hitting you in the face. So it is a true old coal-fired train. It was probably our favorite attraction the whole day.
So something unique at Dollywood that I didn't expect to see was a huge sanctuary of bald eagles, which, I mean, who can just walk past an eagle sanctuary? I can't. I think they're so majestic looking. And especially to see so many in one location. It's actually the largest preservation or sanctuary of non-releasable bald eagles, for either they were hurt or injured or they're part of a breeding program. But she's actually partnered up with like the U.S. Wildlife and Fisheries and the Tennessee wildlife people. And so, I mean, there are just so many of them.
Yeah, there's probably north of 30 or 40 of them. That's just a guesstimate. There's a lot there. So it's kind of neat to see that many eagles, bald eagles in one spot. And the fact that they were rescues the whole thing was pretty cool. We were not expecting that in the park because you don't see that advertised a lot.
Yeah, and they're kind of like on the side of a mountain, and there's all these like little perches for them. So they just kind of fly around. Of course, there's this big netting, but you kind of they talk to each other, and you know, if some are able to somewhat fly, they fly from perch to perch, and they're so majestic. I mean, they're the national bird.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool and unexpected. So moving on, so one of the other main reasons why you might show up to Dollywood is for the shopping. So especially during the Christmas time, they have like a bunch of different Christmas shops and different mom and pop type shops that you would find if you were to go travel to like trade shows or something like that.
Yeah, like I think they probably apply to get a spot, and then they can sell their little handmade crafts. One thing is you can tell that Dolly is really proud of where she's from. Like, she's from that area and she wants to give back to her home as much as possible. So she tries to put local things there, like local craftsmen and, you know, people that make things, because she wants to support the economy of her home.
Yeah, so they had like a forge there where they were making knives and whatever else, and then they were making like pots. Was one of the places we went into. People
painting things, just all kind of handmade goods where you can tell this is the livelihood of these people.
So if you're going to Dollywood to get a unique experience on the shopping, you'll definitely find it here. So if you're planning your visit for Dollywood and you're trying to figure out how long you want to spend there, we did a whole day. So we were there early in the morning, or at least they don't open till like what, 10?
10 or I think 11.
Yeah, so they don't open up super early, but we pretty much were there shortly after their opening and pretty much closed it down. I will tell you that if you're going to do everything, that is the rides, the shopping, the eating, everything they have to offer, one day will not be enough for you, because you have to consider the fact that you're going to be waiting to eat, you're going to be waiting to ride the rides, and just the size of the park and the amount of stuff to do there. If you plan on doing all of those things, you're probably going to need at least 2 or 3 days. I would say probably 3 days, which is probably why they have the 3-day pass option. You know, you can be like a season holder as well, but if you're just gonna kind of lightly touch everything, like I said, we did a lot in a day, and that was mostly geared towards the shopping and the shows. But if you start throwing in rides in there and truly seeing every show, you're probably gonna need at least 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, and we, you know, like I originally said, this is not something that we had originally planned to do, so we kind of had to fit it into our schedule and move some other things around. So we did it very quickly because we all kind of agreed. We were like, well, you know, while we're here, we might as well check it off the bucket list.
Yeah.
So we had to move very quickly through everything, but if this is what you're going to do, go to Dollywood, then you're going to want to give it its proper time.
That's right. One thing we really didn't experience at the park, but we feel like it probably needs to be mentioned, is since we did go to Christmas, which we've said several times now, they do have a water park. Obviously it wasn't open while we were there because it was too cold. It was during their kind of maintenance time of the year, but that really would even add another day to your experience at Dollywood if you wanted to do the water park. They have water park rides. They have like different areas where you can spray the people that are on the water park ride, so that's a whole different section of the park that we really didn't get to experience just because of the time of year. Now, something else that needs to be mentioned is the resorts. So you can actually stay in and around Dollywood. They have cabins that you can rent. They have resorts that you can stay in that are nearby. And they do provide transportation to and from those resorts.
Yeah, and I think there's even a third one coming soon because I would see like the advertisements she was doing. So I think there's a third resort, more like a lodge style, coming soon. So she's really expanding. She's putting some time and thought into expanding this facility, which is good because when we were reading, it was voted the #1 theme park on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, so if you actually want to stay in and around the park during your visit, there's many options to do that.
So overall, if you're in the area, I recommend you go to Dollywood, especially if you've never been there. It's just one of those bucket list things that you gotta check off your list. If you're an avid Dolly fan, you're gonna love it. So I recommend you go, if not just for the day like we did, especially if you're in the area. But overall, I would say it was a pretty pleasant experience.
Yeah, what's the one in Branson called?
Silver Dollar City, which this used to be a Silver Dollar City before Dolly bought it in like the 1980s.
Yeah, so Silver Dollar City in Branson to me was like a complete waste of time. But I'm sure a lot of people do like Silver Dollar City, but it's almost like a sister park to Dollywood, but Dolly Parton has taken Dollywood to the next level, and I would highly recommend going to Dollywood for at least one day like we did.
Yeah, you gotta do it. I mean, who doesn't love Dolly?
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review / experience for Dollywood. If you have the opportunity to go, we suggest it, especially around Christmas time because all the lights and decorations kind of make it magical. But we hope you enjoyed it. So remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We try to put videos out almost every week, depending on our schedule. And we will see you on the next one. I believe we're going to be doing the national park, the Smoky Mountains National Park.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a very good one. So I hope to see you on that one, guys. Bye.
Bye.